Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new video, and today we're going to be talking replicants. So, this is a requested video on my rep. Let me work the oil into here. And so yeah, this is my arm shark. Technically, yes, this is an arm shark replicant, okay? Not much is left on here that is arm shark. In fact, I think it's just screws. Just the screws and the liners are arm shark, and the rest is others. And there's some pins. Okay, yeah. The core of it is the arm shark replicant. But yeah, anyways, I'll tell you guys the story of this. So you can actually go back on my channel and you can see when I unboxed this guy. And I think I titled something like Arm Shark Replicant is healthy for you or something like this. And I got the Arm Shark Replicant for an absolute cracking deal. I think it was back when you could use like Chinese shipping merchants like Panda Buy and CSS Buy. I think I used Panda Buy to buy like trainers, right? And you know, you could get balisongs for pretty cheap. So I think I got this guy for like £40 when it released, despite it like retailing for like 60 or so. And I think I ordered it with, no, I didn't. I just ordered it by itself, right? And it was just, you know, it was cool. It was the first time I ever bought something from there. And also just to give you guys a little reference, like, that's the tune that we're talking about here. But yeah, when I got it, you can watch my unboxing video. It's on my channel. And I was really gassed. You know, I'd never had a rep before, but a rep is like a rite of passage, really, for all balisong flippers. I think you have to, at least at one point in your collection, have a replicant of some sort, whether it be a clone or a genuine. Otherwise, I feel like you don't really have the true balisong experience. And I think you kind of have to customize it. But basically, what happened was I had that rep, and I was like, yo, this thing is super cool. I really like it. And, you know, it grew on me. At first, I was like, it's a bit heavy. It is disgustingly sharp though, so please, and I do not flip this thing regularly enough, for one reason, which I will come back to, for it to be like something that I'm comfortable flipping. Goodness me, man, the points really are there. You can tell though when you're confident with a balisong and when you're not. You know, usually I'm not bad with a live blade, but the thing is, this thing likes to rotate so much in my hand, and it has a slightly terrifying balance. Like, it flips well, but my word, you gotta be on your game to flip this thing. It's like we'll get to that in a minute, but yeah, I got the rep, and I was like, yo, this thing is super cool. It didn't have these scales on, but imagine this is like the default rep. And I was like, yo, it looks sick with the hourglass Tanto blade. And I was like, yeah, man, I love this arm shark rep. And I got it to the point where I think when I bought it, it actually had no tap. Actually, I think it had a pretty good tune. It had a bit of play, but not much tap. I was like, yeah, this thing is sick. And then I decided later on, like this is quite a while later, I was like, well, let me just start doing some anodizing stuff, right? So this was my first ever, actually, I had some titanium chopsticks, which were my first ever anodization. But then I just went, you know what, screw it, I'm going to try and anodize it, right? And so I put this lovely, like, rainbow fade from the kind of golden at the pivots through, like, the pinks, the purples, the blurples, the kind of blues, the teals, and then the greens, and then they kind of maxed out there. And it was a test to see how does it come out. I mean, you can see this lovely effect here. And that was the first thing I had on this guy, and they were sick. They were really cool. I really loved I really love these scales, and I still do. I still absolutely am in love with the color scheme that I did for it. I think it's the best color I could have gone for. This like crazy fade. It is a pretty difficult. Helixes are hard. It's a pretty difficult fade to do, at least for like my first fade. But yeah, no, I was really proud of it, and I put it back together, and I was like, yo, this thing looks even sicker than before. And then the next thing I decided to do was actually to stone wash the blade, right, the trainer blade. So you'll see videos, if you look at any of the older videos, you'll see I had the acid washed, you know, darkened blade, and I had these lovely scales here, and liners, and I was like, this is absolutely dope. I love these things. And that's kind of how my rep stayed for quite a long time, until I did my second ever purchase through like Taobao's, which I bought the Bali Plus oil. I bought, I think, the thick oil, which I have to say is like my #1 most underrated oil, just the Bali Plus oil. If you can find it, I don't know if they make it anymore, but if you can find it, it is absolutely fantastic. But I bought that alongside these channel spacers. And by the way, I will leave links to these parts if I can find them below. These channel spacers, you can buy them on BBKS, on AliExpress, or on the website. I use code TACTIC if you're on the website, and I'll leave the AliExpress link down below, just because I like AliExpress. And also, you help out the channel if you order these from AliExpress as well. It's an affiliate link. I'll just make sure that's clear. But yeah, feel free to use BBKS. I don't get anything back from that, but you know, it's probably going to end up being a little bit cheaper for you guys. And yeah, I got these things, but I didn't get them from either or. I just got them from a Taobao seller. I don't know where I got them from, but yeah, I got these after finding out which ones to get, and I installed them. And essentially, my rep kind of looked like this from the side for the longest of times. I had the lovely carbon fiber scales. Oh, actually, no, that's not true. There was one change I did before I got these slabs. I actually did the bushing spacers at the bottom. I got some spare bushings from something, and I put a bushing with the 2 washers on the other side, and I had that at the bottom pivot screw here, and that was actually how I ran it before I got these channel spacers. So then I got the channel spacers, and I loved it how it sounded on that thing, by the way. It sounded so cool. I 100% recommend. If you think the rep is too handle biased, which is how I felt, I put it on those washer, essentially barrel spacers, right? And that fixed the balance for me, really. It made it almost even a bit too blade bias, but it was a great fix. It basically made it more of a neutral balisong with a gentle blade bias, which is usually what I like in my balisongs, but the rep being a thick, chunky balisong, it was like, I don't know, I think I'd prefer a bit more predictability. And then I ended up getting these channel spacers, and they have 2 brass weights, like here, and then they just fit, and they fit almost like a dream. They don't fit quite perfectly there, or like behind the Zen pin, so maybe I'll sand these down or something to make them a bit smoother against the Zen pin. But otherwise, they do fit quite well, as long as you have it all cranked down. And it was fantastic. But then once I had these, I then spent like 2-3 hours tuning this guy to get it to the point where it is now, right? Which is like, you know, you can wiggle it around. And this is with the trainer blade, which is obviously slightly thicker. And you can shake it as hard as you want. It doesn't tap, which is, getting tap out of a rep is hard work. And it does have some play, obviously the sandwich design. It's going to be flexible, but getting the no tap is a big achievement for me. And I had it with no tap with the trainer blade, and I was like, yo, this is dope. And then I ended up in a trade getting some really cool polycarbonate scales, just some like clear ones. They're also available on BBKS for those of you who are interested, although they might be out of production now. But yeah, then I had this lovely cool clear look here. Obviously these were like clear scales with a trainer blade, with these, you know, this is the side profile that it's had for the longest time, and I don't plan on changing it anytime soon. And this is a carbon fiber channel spacer, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that, but yeah, it gives me that like Baku Lego block sound. I love a channel spacer on these things. And yeah, then I ended up getting a live blade for it, and live blade is a Bali Plus live blade, and I think I'm using still the stock Arm Shark hardware, so the Bali Plus blade and bushings, but I'm using like the very heavily used Arm Shark washers, but I tuned it for those used washers. This is the original set of washers on this thing. I've taken it apart too many times. I don't have spare washers that fit it because the rep washers are slightly thicker than standard washers, which is like great. But yeah, I use those stock rep washers because I think the phosphor bronze is a bit better than the yellow ones that come with this guy. And it came in some spare hardware, and I wanted the hardware to fit so bad, and one screw fit perfectly, and I was like, yes. And then the other screw, the actual threads on the screw didn't even fit into its own barrel, and that's your Bali Plus old school quality control. This is back in the day before they had like actually half decent hardware. I probably have hardware that fits here now, but yeah, I had to basically resort back to the Arm Shark hardware, and it's not stripped, but it is on its last legs. And I have these tightened pretty much as tight as they'll go, without binding. I think technically one of these handles surely must bind somewhere. Let's rate how good is my tune here. Oh, there is like a tad, like an inkling of bind. Oh, there at the very end, you know, it could be a bit better, and I think we're doing it this way. Okay, so no, the tune's actually pretty decent, I would say, for my own tune. And yeah, I got this guy here, the live blade, and I had it on the polycarb with the live blade, with the channel spacer, with the rainbow liners. And then I was going to buy off of Ciela Song some jade scales, because I think they look fantastic, and those are still the scales I want. I'll leave those also in the pinned comment. Those scales look absolutely fantastic. Do use the link there if you want to buy them. They do it for the special rep with the cut-off corners and for the standard rep, and I was this close to ordering them, and then I was very thankfully gifted these, like, I don't know if they're forged carbon or if they're just regular carbon but like grinded down, these like special carbon fiber scales off of BBKS. And also, I forgot to mention, when I made the trade for the polycarb scales, the clear ones, I did also get this zippy glow-in-the-dark spacer thingy, and I only got 3 of them instead of 4, so I actually just now use it as a bite handle indicator, which I think is a really cool, like, integrated bite handle marker. I think it's really cool, and I love how it looks like. But yeah, I then finally got it to this final form, where I had these carbon fiber scales here, and they are very grippy and very light. They're lighter than the polycarbs, and they're a bit heavier than the polycarbs, but they're lighter than the G10s. But they're grippier. Actually, they're technically a little bit slipperier, but the design is grippier than the stock design, and I love this like really hollow channel here. And so I have essentially turned these from standard rep into like a channel thing, but with the Bally Plus live blade, these Chinese carbon fiber scales, which are very nice. There's carbon fiber channel spacers, the stock Arm Shark liners, and all the hardware other than bushings. Even the washers are Arm Shark. I have made what is my current perfect rep. And I forgot to mention that the channel spacers with these 2 little brass weights, they are more handle biased than a barrel spacer, but a lot less handle biased than the stock titanium spacers, which is kind of what I was looking for. And the biggest change though was definitely when I switched from the hourglass blade to this live blade. This live blade is heavy, and sometimes it makes me wish I actually took the alt blade than the Tonto, but the Tonto looks so much cooler. But then again, the alt blade has grown on me in this kind of like ugly duckling kind of way, where I think it actually does look pretty good, even though I actually think it's a bit ugly. But it's like how a sheep's foot blade looks cool, you know. I think it looks a bit like a sheep's foot and a bit like a leaf blade, and I think it's the spear point, isn't it, the alt blade? And that's where I think I had one in my hands and I was like, yo, this is actually really pretty. And so that's where I'm like, maybe that will be the next evolution, and that would make it the actual perfect one. But currently the balance is like, there is so much tip weight and not a ton of end weight here at the end. The weight is pretty evenly balanced, and so it makes this thing flip kind of psychotically, where like you feel that blade coming at you, kind of like flipping a kukri balisong. It kind of has this feel to it, despite it, you know, it actually flips traditionally quite well, right? Like it's got a good balance. You know, it's fairly neutral. You can see here, like, you know, it's a pretty neutral balisong. Maybe like the taddest bit of blade bias, but like I would say this is neutral balisong with a lot of blade weight, because it does all the rollovers. Like, you know, I wouldn't complain about a single one of these rollovers. It just kind of has this psychotic balance where the blade doesn't move at a consistent speed all the time. And I kind of like it for that. Like, it's got this kind of crazy, Mad Maxy kind of feel. And the only downside to this whole balisong, which I was, why I don't flip it all that much, which is not the balance, because I kind of like it, this like psychotic. It's a very unique balisong that I've made. And it's a custom, and it has a special place in my heart. It's one of the few ones it'd be one of the last ones to go if I had to sell it. You know, probably only before... like, what's my current favourite? Maybe the JK Orca, and the Prisma. Probably those would be the last balisong I'd keep, just because they're cheap, and the Prisma is like sentimental for me. It's my first original balisong. The Seraph, unfortunately, I'd love to put on that list as well, but if I needed the money badly enough, I'd probably have to sell the Seraph. But yeah, this guy, it's got a special place in my heart with the psychotic flipping, because you can see here, it's perfectly capable of like very normal flipping, right? You know, there's your 8-ball into a helix. Okay, I can't do a helix on this thing because the blade is also really big. And so, yeah, doing helixes and stuff on the Rep blade, it's a little bit intimidating because this thing is like, if it was normal sharp, I'd actually be fine, like mentally. But it's the thing, this is like hair whittling sharp, because that's how clones come. And I know this sharpness won't last very long, but because I don't flip it much, the blade is in immaculate condition. And I have been nicked the day I put it in, and it hurts and it goes deep, and the blade carries quite a bit of mass. And so I'm not a fan of this one. So I would dull it, but I just can't bring myself to, because it helps accentuate the psychotic nature of this thing. It's just got such a unique flipping about it. But yeah, for those of you who are interested, it has been a requested video about the build of my Rep. What's it made of? Yeah, and I'll try to leave as many links as I can down below. Most of the stuff is available on BBKS, right? You can buy Rep blades, you can buy these scales, or you can buy actually all of it on BBKS other than the zippy spacers, interestingly enough. But I'll try to see if there's CLSong links as well, for those of you who don't use BBKS. But yeah, if there's an AliExpress link, it's an affiliate link that does help out the channel. If not, the CLSong links, I believe, also do help out the channel a little bit. I get a small kickback. But the BBKS stuff is also probably going to be the best price that you'll find, and so I'm more than happy to provide that for you guys there. But yeah, this is one of the few Balisongs that is... it holds a special place to me, because I never realised the fun that you could have from just customising your own Balisong. So if you do have a Rep, definitely spend a little bit of cash customising. I definitely recommend like the secondhand market, because you can get these bits for like kind of cheap. Or the Asian stuff is also just as good as the genuine stuff. I definitely recommend the Phoenix Design Spaces. They're really cool. I've seen a pair of those. They're like an ABS one. They give a slightly different sound. I think they're also really, really awesome. The only thing is, when you do have a Rep, you just got to watch out that it's not starting to tap from drops. Obviously, I've dropped it quite a few times, and it's not tapping. It's good, but it's definitely wiggling around a little bit more. But yeah, I'm really happy with this thing. Sorry for the longer video, but I hope that answers the questions for those of you that were interested into the story of the Tacti Rep. I don't know, that's such an awful name. Sorry. That's a really awful name. Yeah, no. Actually, good idea. For those of you who have made it this far, and you guys are the most valued members of my channel because you actually watched the most of my videos, leave some name suggestions for this Balisong down below. You've heard the story now. You've heard how it came to be. I think if I had to sell it, I'd sell it for, I don't know, more, because I've spent more money on it now. More than £40, I should say, because that's like even cheaper than the base one without the anodization, without the scales and whatnot. I think these scales on their own probably cost similar to what I paid for some of the bits and bobs, or the blade or something like that. But yeah, leave some name suggestions for it down below. Maybe this will be my first Balisong with a name, considering she's got a nice story. Yeah, but thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like, leave a comment, leave a subscribe. Yeah, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Consider becoming a channel member as well. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.